Fascinating story in the Wall Street Journal, how 7.4 tons of Venezuela's gold landed in Africa and vanished. The government of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro is selling off its country's gold reserves. Some of it has passed through a secretive operation in East Africa, a gambit that invades US sanctions. On 2 early March flights, at least 7.4 tons of gold with a market value over $300 million moved from Venezuela to a refinery in Uganda, say officials in Venezuela and Uganda. A foreign diplomat and Venezuelan opposition lawmakers who have concluded Mr. Maduro's government exported the ingots. The accompanying paperwork identified the ingots, some with stamped labels partially scratched off, as Venezuelan central bank property, says a senior Ugandan police officer who saw the bars and the documents. Gold sales, US and other officials say, are one of the government's final financial lifelines. AGR, which is this refiner in Uganda, has processed and exported more than 38 tons of gold since it started operations. Ms. Dakdak says the scale of its operation helped drive gold in 2018 to overtake coffee as the leading export from Uganda, which mines little of it. A spokesman for Mr. Museveni says the president backs the plant, just as he does all other investors, in his quest to transform Uganda's economy. The Maduro government's prior gold sales have been an open point of contention. Between late 2017 and February 1st, 2019, the central bank sold at least 73.3 tons of gold with a market value of around $3 billion to companies in the UAE and Turkey. It's a fire sale, said one of the lawmakers. The regime is scraping the barrel and selling off anything of value to keep itself afloat. AGR was founded in 2014 by Alain Gertz, 54, a Belgian businessman who has worked more than 3 decades in the African gold trade. Gold is almost impossible to trace to its origin once refined. The UN says gold is the primary mineral financing militias and parts of the military in eastern Congo, funding a conflict that has killed millions. America's 2010 Dodd-Frank Act includes provisions to discourage companies from using raw materials that finance the Congolese conflict by tracing what they buy. The Act doesn't make buying these materials illegal. AGR appeared in supply chains of 237 publicly traded US companies in their filings for 2018. Saying that inside the cardboard were 3.8 tons of Venezuelan gold. Another 3.6 tons on the same airliner from Caracas arrived at the refinery 2 days later, Mr. Enanga says. By the time the police minerals unit tipped off over the unusually large consignments, raided AGR on March the 7th, the first lot was gone, exported to the Middle East, with its final destination listed as Turkey. Ugandan police seized the other 3.6 tons, ingots stamped with labels identifying them as Venezuelan central bank property. Some labels appeared scratched, as if someone had tried to disguise their origin. Paperwork with the bars showed they were from the 1940s. The US publicly pressured the bank's buyers in Turkey and the UAE. My advice to bankers, brokers, traders, facilitators, and other businesses, a tweet from John Bolton warned on Jan 30, don't deal in gold or other Venezuelan commodities being stolen from the Venezuelan people by the Maduro mafia. 2 months later, Uganda's police say that the seized Entebbe gold shipment sat in custody. Relief came from President Museveni. In a letter dated March 26, a copy of which the journal reviewed, Uganda's Attorney General William Burunga ordered the Police Minerals Protection Unit to release the gold and withdraw officers from AGR. The order to release the gold came from President Museveni, whom he said he had met the day before at State House in Entebbe. AGR is instructed henceforth, the letter said, to cease and desist from any further importation from Venezuela until further notice. From there, the Venezuelan gold traced fades. Sometime in March, 2 tons of gold were put up for sale in Turkey at a steep discount to market prices. There is a twist in the Venezuelan gold's tale, says the person familiar with the central bank's reserves. The bars almost certainly came from America in the 1940s. This is a photograph of President Museveni in white with Alan Gertz and gold flakes at AGR in 2017. There is a link there for the Mindspeak session that I hosted for President Museveni here in Nairobi. Refining gold at AGR, that photograph's from the Wall Street Journal, and AGR is roughly 500 yards from the old Entebbe runway. Fascinating story.